What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday night. It's your boy Capper with Twiddle Steve. We're here to recap the Sony, go over the AMEX, and maybe talk a little football tonight. Steve, I know you're still under the weather. How you doing, bud?
Yeah, I am a little bit under the weather. It's not Rona, but I just think it's me and my kids just passing germs back and forth all week. Somehow I felt worse yesterday after getting a little better, but I'm on the upswing a little bit. But you know what really lifted my spirits, by the way, other than a couple things in my betting card that went horribly wrong today that we'll get to in a little bit. So the Sony always delivers, and it's not the flashiest tournament. Obviously, coming off of Capelou with a strong field, and there's a lot of really big events, but it just seems like every single year this tournament always delivers an exciting finish. Sometimes a soul-crushing finish, depending on who you're on. But another really good finish this year. Nick Taylor comes out on top in a playoff, being Nico Echevarria, thanks to a couple of big-time choke jobs down the back nine by a couple of guys we'll talk about. I really enjoyed it, and it was a fun watch on Sunday.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun watch. Shout out Bear Off. He gave out Nick Taylor. What's funny is I think we talked about him too, and I was just like, man, he hasn't done anything, but he plays really well here. And it's like, yep, clearly this is his happy place. I was on Nico last week early. So yeah, man. And Joey had shout out Joey, gets engaged, gets in top 5 of a bunch of GPPs. So yeah, it was a good weekend for a bunch of us. Not me,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, he can pay for all those appetizers at the reception there. Upgrade to the lamb lollipops. That is a good call, sir. Upcharge that. So no, I mean, so how much of the back nine did you really watch? I know football's on. Like it's hard to keep track of both. Like I tried to devote my entire evening to watching the back nine today just to see it go down. How much did you watch today?
So I watched a decent amount. I also had people over because it was my daughter's birthday yesterday. So we had a big slumber party last night. And then the family came over today. So we were doing cake and eating. So I was like had golf on my phone, football on the TV for everybody else because nobody else wants to watch golf when football's on. So yeah, I watched a good bit of it. It was Jesus Christ, they were luck boxing their way down. Spawn and Jaeger were luck boxing their way down that back nine. Holy shit. Insane. Just like hole it out from like 40 feet. And Taylor's missing buddies. Like it didn't look good for Taylor, but hey man, he stuck it in. Oh, what a choke at the end by Nico. It was terrible. What a fucking awful effort off that fringe.
Well, so I was thinking down the back nine. I was trying to think about what I was going to say at this podcast because it looked like Nick Taylor and Jaeger, or not Nick Taylor, at Spawn and Jaeger were going to duel back and forth and make an exciting finish. I was trying to think like, all right, what are the famous duels in golf history? Obviously, you got one of my favorites, Stenson versus Mickelson at Troon. You have the duel under the sun with Watson and Nicklaus. And I'm pretty sure I was not going to, tell my kids in 10, 15 years from now about the epic Jaeger versus Spawn duel down the back nine at Waialae. Some really bad golf that was really played on the back nine. I mean, I missed the front nine, but it started as soon as I turned on the TV. You had Spawn miss a bunny 3-footer for birdie on 9, one of the easiest holes in the golf course, and then both of them start yanking their tee shots left on 10. Struggle to find fairways. Spawn is one of the worst bunker players I think I have ever seen. He had a really bad one yesterday on 17, had a bad one, I think, on 14 today, but he made that big bomb for a par there. A terrible bunker shot on 17 as well. And yeah, I just if you had a Spawn ticket, RIP Brian Kirshner. Anyone who had him, I almost had JJ Spawn. We talked about him on the show. On the betting show. I was like, why isn't JJ Spawn really good here? And I texted you yesterday because you're trying to dunk on me for Patrick Fishburne.
I wasn't dunking on you. I just thought it was funny. Like I specifically asked you about your guy, and you're like, "Nah, I'm good." I know, like the fucking Saturday leader.
Like my guy. I think I bet him maybe like 2 times last fall there.
That's your guy. Your guy.
No, I was more annoyed about JJ Spawn just saying, "Oh well, why is he good here? Oh well, I'm just not going to bet him." And it looked like he was going to win, but hey, he didn't, despite the fact he was awesome with his iron. Just a lost strokes around the green this week, probably mostly from the bunker. And yeah, neither made it into the playoff there. Thanks.
Man, that
some,
JJ Spawn
late
had that nice fucking chip though. That was a tough chip, man. And I feel like if the wind wasn't going with him, like that would have been probably about 4 feet closer, and he would have made it to the playoff.
No, yeah, of course. Yeah, obviously it's tough to get some spin on the ball coming out of the rough. There it was downwind, but yeah, I mean, one of his kryptonites is just he made a couple bombs today, but just JJ Spawn doesn't make a whole lot of putts sometimes, and did not make any down to save him there. So, any other closing thoughts about this tournament? We can go down the leaderboard a little bit as far as some other guys.
I mean, I just think. I think maybe I'm just gonna stop betting. Yes, they'll have a playoff. It was like every other year, and then we have back-to-back years. Like maybe this course just gives itself a playoff. You know what I mean? Like how the course is laid out, how it plays. Like maybe this is just one of these courses that we're gonna have lots of playoffs.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, you're ending on a par 5. It's not a guaranteed birdie either. So it seemed like it was, it's usually kind of a jammed up leaderboard. No one really can separate this place. Excuse me. So, maybe that's what's the other one that always gets a playoff? There's another event that it just seems like every single year comes down to it.
Yeah, you know me, I'm bad with that shit. But
yeah, I don't know. We'll probably stumble upon that event eventually and be like, oh yeah, this is the one that we talked about at the Sony.
Yeah,
exactly. We always should bet that too. I'm probably there's somebody watching this just screaming at the stream right now. So, some other guys that did really well this week. Eric Cole. Listen, I said this in the Discord that my track record for any time I publicly say I'm done with a guy, usually they go on in top 10 the following week. It's about an 87% success rate. And look at this, 5th place for Eric Cole. So, maybe I should just make this like I'm done with this guy segment of the week. Yeah, and maybe that's how I can help everybody make money is just go bet that guy the next week. Cause I'm always 1 week too early on quitting on a guy. That's usually how it goes. But I mean, Eric Cole looked good in my model this week. Hit the ball great, putt really well too. I mean, do you think eventually he's going to break through? I mean, he's 36. He's always has these close calls. Wait,
well, I don't.
No,
you know me. I wasted a shit ton of money on him last year. I'm not going to do it this year. I might bet him like top 10s and top 20s on courses that I think I would normally bet him out right at, but yeah, I was not going to do it.
Yeah, I think it's just
like my feelings won't even be hurt when he finally wins. Like even if he hits it like 110 to 1, I'll still think I'll be negative ROI.
Yeah, I mean you can still get pretty good positional pricing on him. That I probably will just maybe settle for that, and then if I miss on the outright, I miss on the outright. Yeah, just there's been too much scar tissue with that guy.
He started out today like shit too. He fucking was +1 forever, and he's like, I don't know, whatever.
Yes, that's what he does. Patrick Fishburne. Did you catch anything yesterday? His back nine?
No, I wasn't getting. It was my daughter's 12th birthday, so I have birthdays. All I have birthdays in December. I have a birthday in December. I have 2 in January. Christmas in between, and I got 1 in February. All I'm doing is doing birthday parties and spending money between December and fucking February.
Yeah, I mean, that's a dude who I don't think I mean, he gained strokes putting somehow this tournament, but I saw him miss a lot of I saw him have a lot of very weak attempts from like under 8 feet. The one on 18 yesterday,
I did almost see that.
It kind of reminded me, it gave me flashbacks of when Rory missed that putt at Pinehurst on 18. It was this 5-footer just dove like right. He just barely hit it. And then he just kind of flatlined it. He made a little bit of a run on the back nine, but I mean, listen, he's been playing good golf though. I think they mentioned he's got like a bunch of top 15 finishes in his last like 7 or 8 starts. So
yeah.
That was a Korn Ferry guy who, when trying to think of like who are these Korn Ferry guys from last year who were like kind of going to emerge, and like Grayserman did a little bit, Fishburne's kind of emerged.
Grayserman definitely did.
No, I know, but like it seemed like it took a while with some of these guys last year.
Yeah, that's right. Grayserman came on at the end of the year.
Yeah, so Fishburne I think is one of these guys now. That you may make me start like maybe trusting a little bit more. You got the stereotypical Russell Henley top 20. Made a little run trying to get everybody excited, falls like T10 there. How about Webb Simpson T16 this week? How about that? Back from the dead.
What's funny is I looked at him a little bit when I was looking like DFS, just because I was like, I'm not fucking playing Webb Simpson. And then of course he absolutely fucking boat raced me on Thursday in a 3-ball.
He did.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't care. I'm not betting Webb Simpson. Like, it's never happening. Like, I'm not paying attention to this. Fake news.
All right. Well, he did something new this week. He went to the broomstick putter. Actually, that's news to me.
I did see that, but he was already a good putter. So
no, so that was the thing. That's why he got so bad. He stopped being a good putter.
Yeah,
and he stopped being a good iron player too. I mean, he stopped doing really anything good other than just being really good around the green. But I don't know. Maybe that'll give him a little spark. It didn't really this week. He only gained a little bit putting. Did all his damage around the green. All right, time for me to rant. So, remember on Sunday during the preview when I was going through all the past leaderboards about how I always bet on guys who I need to birdie 18 and they never fucking do it.
Yep.
And I always just lose. And I need to, they never do it, so I lose money. How about the choke job from Brian Harmon today? Bet him outright, 2 back. I was at a kids get together during the Bills game. And I was the one, like everybody when you're at a kids get together, when, something's on TV that you're trying to gamble on, or that you're gambling on, you just looking at your phone, your wife's glaring at you, your kid's trying to eat a Lego, and you get blamed for that. Yeah, that was me today.
You brought me, you knew what today was. You knew I was going to be looking at my phone.
Yeah. No, I went willingly. I just tried to multitask, and with a 18-month-old, that doesn't really work out very well sometimes with a lot of really small.
Now, 18-month-old are just on suicide watch 24/7.
Yeah, basically. Regardless, though, I was tracking Brian Harmon today, and I knew very quickly that the outright wasn't going to happen. He was just a par machine on the front 9, missing some 7-foot. He had a 7-foot birdie putt on 1. He missed that. Hit a couple 12-footers on 7, 8. Missed those 2. Just if you were going to make a run, you had to make a run. But I had the top 20 on him at like plus 225. And Norlander came through for the top 40. Meisner came through the top 40. So if I had just hit Harmon, I'd actually be up like 1.5 units for the betting card this week. Would be a decent result. And Harmon just started to suck the back 9, missing fairways, missing putts, couldn't get up and down. But he was sitting there coming at 18. At T18. Now he was tied with like 5 other guys playing 18. Everybody's birdie. He just had to birdie 18 to cash a bet for me.
Second easiest hole on the golf course.
Yeah, a par 5. Just not a situation I have been in countless times, just needing a guy to birdie 18. And what does that little hobbit do? Well, somehow he pumps a drive 330 through the fairway into the right rough. Ends up hitting a pretty mediocre approach shot right of the green, and then chips it up to 9 feet. Now, Brian Harmon, usually a pretty reliable putter, usually knocks those down. And of course, wanting him to make that birdie. No, he doesn't. He finishes T21. So I don't make that bet. So
yeah,
thank you very much, Brian Harmon. If anyone else bet him, I join your frustration there. Otherwise, though, you got some pretty popular names who missed the cut here. I know Billy Horschel was kind of people trying to make him a sneaky pick this week. He missed the cut. Austin Eckroat, that was a
too
big
easy of a
job
course
on Friday. What's that?
Too easy of a course for Billy. He needs a tough course.
Okay, he probably would have done well in the weekend then when conditions really toughened up. Eckroat, completely choke job. I think he went from tied to lead to missed cut in a matter of
that was super
holes.
fun. That was my top 20 lock on the insider picks. That was fun.
Yeah, not great. Daniel Berger, you were right. I was wrong. You're smart. I'm dumb. You're good looking. I'm not. I'll take a giant L on Daniel Berger there.
No, you need to take the L on. You need to take the L on Clan. Everybody who was talking about fucking Clan, like, I don't understand what everybody was drinking. Like, I just don't understand it. Like, it frustrated me because I was like, Steve, you don't usually do this, and I know you don't hear the Twitter shit, so I can't even blame that. But everybody was betting this guy 40-1 outright. He's a fucking amateur. Like, it was that was a stupid bet, a bad bet. I don't care. It was a horrible.
Okay. Bet. All right, you want to go through your betting card? There was bad.
No. I got my dick kicked.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. You made some great bets this week, sir.
I did.
No, look, I will.
Matt McNeely is the weakest hockey player of all time, and I apologize for getting off my stance of never math. Back to never math.
Okay. All right, so we both made pretty bad bets this week. Corey Connors also chalky pick Big bust this week. Did what Corey Connors usually does. Did pretty well tee to green, lost 2.5 strokes putting. That is more like the Corey Connors I know and love. Otherwise, though, it was a fun Wildlife, fun Sony Open. Lost about half a unit on my betting card. Not off to a great start, but let's hope to get it back at a multi-course putting fest this week. That sure is going to go great for everybody.
Yep. So, well, before we do that, I know Andy's got look, obviously everybody knows what's going on in California and LA. Andy's got a link up for Red Cross and a couple other things. As a former firefighter, looking at some of these pictures, I mean, it's somebody who's been in war zones. It looks bad, man. Like if anybody can donate, man, take some of that parlay money, some of the pizza bet money, throw it towards these people. It's tough, man. Hopefully it goes to the firefighters and so they get some equipment to help out the families who are displaced. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people who are displaced. This place is burnt to the ground. It's still 0% contained, which is insane to me. 0% contained is almost impossible after this long. And now the winds kick back up again. Man, it's a terrifying situation out there. And if anybody can, seriously, go to Andy's Twitter page. Go to the Red Cross, any other links you can find, just go help them out, man. It is a very, very bad time out there. It's terrifying. It really is.
Yeah. That video Andy shared that's horrible, awful.
Yeah, man.
Listen,
fire is scary, man. Like it really is. Like like I had a gear on, you know what I mean, and I was fighting with gear on, and it was still frightening every once in a while. I can't imagine just being no gear, standing in your house, watching it go. Like,
yeah. I mean, and trying to escape congested LA right there, just nowhere to go. Like, it's a terrible situation.
If you guys want anything off of anybody's advice this week or DFS, take fucking $10-$25. Everything helps. Seriously, go do it. It's the right thing to do. And if you bet on golf, or if you can gamble on DFS, you can give $25 to a charity to help people who are displaced. So
okay. All right. Well, let's move on to the AMEX. Your favorite tournament, my favorite tournament, everybody's favorite tournament.
The worst.
Let's share the screen. Can you see the screen here? Let's go to this. There we go. Okay. All right. The AMEX 2025 preview. Do you know what hole this is?
No,
it's
17.
It's 17. It's
17.
You know the nickname of it. What is it?
Sawgrass ripoff.
Sawgrass ripoff, aka Alcatraz, because of the rock formation around it. Definitely you can get yourself in trouble here if you actually go and look at. You can find on YouTube the fails. I always like watching those videos. Sometimes you'll see these guys who are professional golfers just look like us sometimes. A very popular one from the AMEX is guys completely screwing up on this hole because especially if the green's playing a little firm, it'll bounce to the green, it'll get caught up in the rocks here, and you see guys try and chip it off the rocks and bounce it back into the water. I forget who it was, but somebody hit the rocks over here. It might have been CT Pan, possibly. Hit the rocks over here, bounce all the way across the pond into somebody's yard, and they tried to chip back onto the green and some hit in the water. I think
who was that
on it?
Was that? I don't think it was CT Pan, was it?
Maybe Sung Kang, possibly could have been him.
Yeah.
So, but no, this is one of the few holes in the entire tournament that can cause calamity and car wrecks. Didn't used to be that way. It used to be, have some some decent teeth to it. But over the years, it's kind of softened a little bit as these guys have just started hitting a little more. Last couple of years, the weather has been pretty calm for this thing. You remember the last couple of years, this thing has been completely defenseless. I think almost 30 under par has been winning it. An amateur won this last year. We'll talk about that stupid tournament coming down the stretch of this podcast here. But let's kick it off right here. So this is the American Express. There are 3 golf courses. The first one is the Stadium course, built by Pete Dye in 1986. So after the success of TPC Sawgrass, which I think was built in 1981, They wanted to create a Sawgrass of the West. Basically, almost the exact same golf course as the one in Florida. So they ended up finding a place in Palm Desert, built this at PGA West. And I'll show you in a little bit. There definitely are some holes that look very similar, almost identical to the ones you see over in Sawgrass. And when they first actually played it for the Bob Hope Classic, this is what this used to be. The pros complained it was way too hard, and they actually stopped going to this until I think 2016.
Do you think the people, real quick, this is way off the subject. Do you think people who listen to this podcast know who Bob Hope is?
I'm sure there's people that are our age that probably know who Bob Hope is.
Yeah, Bob Hope was like a living legend. And like, I bet you there's a 20-year-old who has no fucking idea who Bob Hope is.
Well, there probably were 20-year-olds last week. They have no idea what Goldeneye is.
It's true.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I know. We had a 10-minute discussion about Odd Job. They're like, who the hell is Odd Job? Anyways, so they thought this was way too hard. So they ended up renovating it, softening the golf course, and bringing the guys back here, I think in 2016, adding it back into the American Express. So this is a Pete Dye. It's had a couple other renovations from guys who worked under Pete Dye, but I'll show you some holes that basically look very similar to one you see in Sawgrass. Other Pete Dyes on the PGA Tour: TPC Sawgrass, TPC Louisiana, TPC River Highlands, the front nine, because the back nine was all built by Bobby Weed. The Ocean Course, Kiowa, and Harbor Town with Jack Nicklaus consultation. Those are the main ones that you've seen on the PGA Tour in recent memory. Some recent renovations. They actually underwent a 2-part renovation the last 2 years. One of them has been publicized. The other one, I accidentally found this week. So, and I shared it with Andy, and we've been talking about it in the Discord. So if you want all these inside tips about things that Andy and I find about the golf course leading up to the tournament, definitely go sign up to Inside Sports Network, become an insider. That's the only place you're going to find me talking about this stuff other than this podcast. And we share it with everybody there. So definitely a reason to go hop in the Discord, not just to sweat bets with everybody, but go get some information directly from the source for me and Andy on this stuff. And one of the things I found.
So for people who don't know, Steve literally talks to like the GSCCA or whatever the hell. Like, you get information from fucking groundskeepers and so Steve's on it. Like, Andy's an agronomy nerd, Steve's an agronomy nerd. If you can picture the two biggest golf course architecture, like just Dungeons and Dragons sitting in the basement, guys, it's those two. And they get great information. So yeah, seriously, go to the Discord. It helps us all, even Mongos like me.
Well, here's the thing. This wasn't even in the GCSAA report this week.
I know.
This was, there's this guy who writes for the Desert Sun, my boy Larry Bohannon, who I've never talked to, but he always has great little tips about the course conditions, about PGA West before the tournament. Really good stuff. And he actually broke the news this week that, at least publicly, there was a couple guys actually in Discord who knew about it, who tried to play the course, but it was closed. That they finally got done with all new greens and bunkers at the stadium course at PGA West. They completely rebuilt the greens. Well, they didn't rebuild the greens. They enlarged them. They resodded them. They reshaped all the bunkers because they've gotten kind of concave shaped over the years. They want to make it more flat bottom, kind of like a real, like how they used to be, kind of like your typical Pete Dye design with how the bunkers are. The original contours are mostly kept with the greens, but there might be some new pin positions because they are a little bigger now. But the biggest thing for me is because these are new greens, now these greens are going to play pretty firm. And over the last couple, go
Steve,
ahead.
I would say, listen, if they want this stuff, like let them come be an insider.
What do you mean?
If you're going to break it down, like, and give all the information out, like, let them come.
Well, we already gave these guys the information.
Okay.
So, but I mean, it's our job to still talk about it on this show. So, these grains are going to be a little on the firmer side. What that means, we'll talk about that in a little bit, just based on looking at course history. But anytime we got new greens, it's going to be a little firmer. So something to keep in mind, considering how out of control the scoring was at the stadium course. guys just firing at pins. There are a lot of short irons we'll get to a little bit. Might not be all that as easy to do that this week. Maybe you want to boost a couple things in your models and what you're looking at this week. No lengthening of the golf course, though, still about 7,200 yards, par 72. So definitely on the shorter side for par 72. Average green size, 7,000 square feet, fairly big. And actually, this was the old square footage from the GCSA, so it got a little larger than what they are now. Average fairway width, about 30 to 35 yards wide, but we'll talk about with the missed fairway penalty. God, they play a lot wider because of where the mogul mounds are and how just not penal this rough is. It's very easy for balls to kind of funnel back into the fairway. That we'll talk about a little bit. The agronomy wise, though, we are going to overseed. This is overseed season. And finally, I have won the battle after 5 years.
So happy.
We are no longer referring to overseeded Bermuda as just extra Bermuda on greens. That was something that we were fighting back in 2020 and 2021. Yep. Now it seems like people have finally caught on that, no, this is not, in fact, Bermuda. The Bermuda is dormant. This is a Poa trivialis overseed, ryegrass in the fairways and rough. This one's a little different, though, because you have a little patch of ryegrass overseed. It's about 1.5 inches. And then there's the non-overseed that they let dormant. That's about 2 inches of dormant Bermuda. That's a pretty popular look when you go out west, where you have, mostly the overseeded grass. It's very green. And then you have dormant rough because, water's scarce out there. It would be kind of a disaster to try and water the whole thing to make it entirely overseeded out there. So, I provide in the course notes other greens in the PGA Tour with overseeded Poa trivialis, just overseeded in general greens. TPC Scottsdale, TPC Sawgrass, Innisbrook, Austin Country Club, Memorial Park, GC from last year. There were a couple tournaments that were just Bermuda when they was playing in the fall. Last year in April, as they prepped to the Masters, in March, it was overseeded. So something to keep in mind there if you want to look at just isolating that tournament. TPC San Antonio, TPC Louisiana, Quail Hollow. Now, the problem with overseed sometimes when looking at the greens is depending on the time of year, excuse me, when it gets warm enough, sometimes the Bermuda starts coming up. So then you get into it's a mix of overseed and Bermuda. And that's where sometimes you look at these greens and say, hey, wait a minute, there's still a lot of grain to this, even though there's some Poa trivialis in it. So that can be a little difficult sometimes to handicap and looking at these putting surfaces. But if you stick to these golf courses with overseeded greens, you probably will be okay. I know just watching this, we're early enough in the year with the AMEX where sometimes we've seen warmer temperatures where Bermuda starts coming up. But mostly with the greens and fairways, the chemical that they apply to it to keep the Bermuda dormant it's still cold enough to keep it dormant. So it's going to be a true overseeded green this week. So I may mention that there are some, obviously they've tried to make PGA West, the sister course to TPC Sawgrass in Florida. And there definitely are, you look at some of these holes and say, yeah, like this is basically looks like Sawgrass. So, the 9th at PGA West Stadium and the 5th at TPC Sawgrass. This is always an example I use. We've talked about this for years. Very similar types of holes. This is both par fours. They both have the long, elongated bunkers down the right side here. If you miss a little further right, it goes into the water. Green is angled away from the fairway to going left to right here. At the stadium course, the bunkers are a little closer to the green than they are at Sawgrass, but overall, just like the shape of the holes here, very similar design here. I think this actually was the hole that we nicknamed Sung Jae Knucklehead here.
Sung Jae Knucklehead, exactly the hole.
Yeah. The hole. So he had a terrible drive that landed in this bunker here. He decided, I'm going to carve a hybrid out of the bunker from about 210 over the water to try to hit the green. And what did he do? He hit it into the water. I think he finished 2 strokes out of the lead for the win. So this is where he got that nickname there. Another couple holes that kind of look very similar to Sawgrass is the 12th at Stadium Course and the 10th at TPC Sawgrass. 10th at TPC Sawgrass, that's the one where guys, try to hit a hard hook around the corner here. don't overcook it, or else it'll be in the trees here. You got the long elongated bunkers down the left here. Here it's a little more wide, the fairway, but again, you got the long elongated bunkers down the left here. You don't, it's a layup hole because it bottlenecks about 260 here. Greens, the approach shot into the green is pretty similar. This boomerang shaped green bunker that wraps around the green on 12. It's a little short on 10 here, but very similar looking hole. You can definitely see the similarities between Sawgrass and Stadium Course here. But the biggest ripoff is what you said. The 17th at the Stadium Course and the 17th at TPC Sawgrass. Literally the exact same hole. It's actually a mirror image of each other. This small bunker on the Stadium Course is over short left here. At Sawgrass, it is short right. I think the only real big difference, though, and I actually admire this for the Stadium Course, is remember the uproar with Sawgrass about they grew up the rough around the collars here.
Yeah, it was awful. The uproar. Yes, it was appropriate uproar. It was bullshit.
Yeah. So at the Stadium Course, it's all short grass. So you can see guys, and that's why you see guys roll through here into the rocks or they bounce into the water. So there really are, excuse me, some car crashes that can be seen here, as we saw last year with a very popular outright coming into 17, making a complete mess of the hole and blowing a lot of money for everybody. But I mean, this is the low-hanging fruit example of how there are holes like the Stadium Course. They're very much like Sawgrass. 18 even too. Both of those are they are like 450-yard par fours. They got the lake all the way down the left there. They both have collection areas back right of the green. So very similar closing hole for both golf courses. While they look the same, they definitely play a lot differently than we'll get to in a little bit. But there are two other golf courses at the AMEX. You have the Nicklaus Tournament Golf Course, Jack Nicklaus design, 1987. He built it. Other Nicklaus Golf Course, you got Milford Village, Concession, PGA National, where he renovated from a Fazio. You have the Tauheim Mountain Club, which is where the old Barracuda is played, Valhalla, Castle Pines, and Sherwood. So when you think about Nicklaus courses, you think, pretty penal, accuracy. And some of these golf courses, it's the case, but there's also a lot of Nicklaus courses that you can basically completely overrun. And this is actually an example of a Nicklaus tournament where it just is very defenseless. Par 72. I forgot to add the yardage. It's not 7,100 yards. Average green size a lot smaller than the same course, only about 4,700 square feet. Jack Nicklaus usually has pretty small greens as golf courses. This is another example of it. Average fairway width about 35 to 40 yards wide. Again, ryegrass overseed for the fairways and rough. It's basically the same specs of agronomy here as it is at the same course, and it looks the same. It goes through a lot of these, houses. All the holes are basically flanked by houses. You got the dormant rough way off the fairway. The overseeded ryegrass in the fairways and in the greens as well. But I'll show you a couple of examples. This is way easier than the Stadium Course. So this is the 10th hole here. It's fairly wide. It's only 373 yards, and this bunker, it's only about 250 to carry. And there's not really a whole lot of incentive not to hit driver. So guys can just kind of bomb away and have a flip wedge into this green here. And there just isn't a whole lot of trouble on this hole. Same thing with 14. Again, pretty wide. It takes a really big miss to hit in this bunker over on the left here. It's a small oblong green.
They get to that bunker on the left.
Yeah, for members who play it or the public, sure. Guys can make a mess of it, but you give a professional who can hit it 300 yards and have precise wedges. Even though this green, it looks like a Nicklaus green. It's deep, but it's pretty narrow. But there's not a whole lot of defenses to these holes. And, there are a couple holes with some water on it, but most of the holes on Nicklaus Tournament just look exactly like this. This is one where you can see guys make a bit of a mess of the tournament. So this is a par 5 15th. So wide fairway here, and then you have to decide if you really want to go for it. And 2, we'll get to that comment in a little bit. Maybe we'll take a little break from talking about golf.
That's my buddy Chuck.
Okay. So wide fairway here. And then it's about like a 230-yard carry into a pretty narrow green, but you have some safety barriers from going in the water. Basically, guys who just aim at putting in the front bunker here and get up and down for pretty easy birdie. What I really don't like about this hole, though, is if you miss the fairway, everyone just lays up into this area here where you can actually, if you zoom into the Google Earth, you can see all the divot marks in just this area right here. It's this hole has more teeth and more bark than bite. It is what it is. But this can be a hole because you have to birdie so many holes in Nicholas tournament, as we'll get to the scoring at this tournament. If you don't birdie this hole or you hit in the water, this is definitely where you can cost yourself, on like a Friday at this place. So, and the last one is La Quinta Country Club. This was built in 1959 by Lawrence Hughes. AKA Larry Hughes, the Cavs or the Wizards. I didn't know he was a golf architect. Renovations by Damian Pascuzzo in 1999. Average green size 5,500 square feet, par 72 is about 7,000 yards. Again, ryegrass overseed throughout the entire golf course. The rough is only 1 inch and 3/4, though, so very low. This one looks completely different than the other two, and you can see why these guys just really eat this place up. There is just really nothing to this place. Everything is pretty much dead straight out in front of you. The fairways are actually a little wider than they look here. I'm pretty high up looking at this. Another reason, too, all these fairway bunkers are just not in play for really anybody. Like a 260-yard drive takes out most of these bunkers that are just on this screen right here. This is just a snapshot of like the 4th, 5th, 6th, a little bit of the back 9 as well. There's a lot of dog legs, too, where guys can completely just bomb it over the quarter with relative ease. It's only maybe like a 280-yard carry to take it over it. It's a very short golf course. We'll get to the scoring a little bit. It's embarrassing that they still play this place. I'm just going to say it. I just think this tournament loses a lot of credibility, still bringing the modern professional to this golf course, because you look at the scoring. Let's actually look at La Quinta first. The scoring average last year was -4. 68 was the average.
Pretty good.
I mean, it's pretty good, but that's field average. So if you shot if you shot 70 that day, 2 under, you're losing 2 strokes to the field at this golf course. It just is not a golf course that they should be playing anymore. I prefer if they just play stadium course Nicholas tournament Thursday, Friday, and then just go back to stadium Saturday, Sunday. I understand with the Pro-Am format, but it's not good. Now, Nicholas Tournament Stadium for years, especially when it gets kind of windy and cold, it's easy. It played about, stroke and a half, 1.2 under par, but, for the most part, kind of held its own a little bit. In 2021, they actually redid the greens at Nicholas Tournament. That's why the scoring average was so low that year, because, again, it was firmer greens. Maybe that's a little precursor of what we're going to see this week at the same course of new greens. The average score in 2020 was only a shot under par. It actually played harder than the stadium course. But last 2 years of Nicholas Tournament, though, as these greens have softened, these guys just drive it so much better now that they did. -3.9 last year, -2.4 in Nicholas Tournament in 2023. And it really was, especially if you play like Showdown, it was okay. I want to load up on guys like La Quinta, maybe get a little leverage play on Nicholas because that plays a little easier too. There's a little bit lower ownership. Just avoid the stadium course, though. Well, stadium the last 2 years has been completely defenseless because there's been no wind. It's been relatively soft. So -2.9 was the average score last year at the stadium course, -2.7 the year before that. Of all PGA Tour golf courses, it ranked 40th out of 43rd in terms of difficulty in 2024, 43rd out of 45th in 2023. So, this used to be a place where, especially if it got a little colder, the wind was up, there are some especially some of these par 3s where you can make a mess of it hitting the water. Birdie's not a guarantee at this place, but last couple of years, all 3 golf courses completely defenseless. lots of birdies, kind of
Yeah.
joke golf, to be completely honest. And
Yeah, we don't
especially
get fucking we don't get shot link on fucking two of them. We barely get a
no,
camera on who was the dude who shot. Didn't somebody shoot like a 59 and they didn't have a camera on
I think it was Adam Hadwin, actually.
them? Right? So
Yeah.
I hate this tournament. It's so stupid. Just get rid of it. Just not the whole tournament, but like listen, just have them play at the stadium. Just have it be done. Like, what's the point?
I agree. They are only doing it because of the old Bob Hope Classic, and because American Express is one of the last like biggest sponsors of the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
So, and that's why actually a lot of really good guys are in this field because of their connections to AMEX. So, but at this point, it really the only way we're going to get really challenging scoring conditions, even with the newer greens, we'll talk about a little bit, is if there's wind and cold, and it's not going to be there. So, it's especially at Nicklaus tournament in La Quinta, it's just they shouldn't be playing these courses anymore. So, all right. Well, like you said, though, the only shot link data we have is from Stadium Course. So you're kind of flying a little blind but with La Quinta and Nicklaus tournament because they're so easy. There's a couple other things you can refer to a little bit, try and figure out what you want to do there. But most of the stuff we're going to talk about after this is going to be just Stadium Course focus. There's 2 rounds there. Everybody plays it Thursday through Saturday, cut after Saturday, and then you have everybody finish up at the stadium on Sunday. So off the tee used to be fairly difficult, but the last couple of years, I think as guys have gotten a little farther and a little more aggressive at this place. Also, I think the removal of all the trees has made it just less of a threat to really give these guys trouble if you're a little offline with your drives. A lot easier off the tee the last couple of years. I think that has something to do with it. Approach play, the last couple of years as well. One of the easiest on the PGA Tour. In 2023, it was 41st out of 45th in terms of difficulty with approach shots, 33 out of 43 last year. Now, I think with the newer greens being a little firmer, I would say that the difficulty is going to get upped a little bit at this place. It's going to be a little harder to probably go pin hunting as much. It's probably going to be harder to get the ball closer to the hole. So that might be something you might want to factor in a little bit, that it's going to be a little harder this week with your approach shots. I don't think it's going to make a much of a difference. I don't think it's going to be material, but you might want to maybe put a little more emphasis on iron play this week because you're still going to have to go low. There's still going to be birdies, plenty available at this place. Maybe up your emphasis on iron play a little bit this week because of the newer greens. Around the green, though, it's a little bit hit or miss, but for the most part, though, pretty defenseless, easy conditions around the green. With the new bunkers that they're going to put in, what's going to be interesting about that is that used to be one of the more difficult areas around the same course, trying to get up and down for some of these bunkers. Now, the fact that they renovated it, how that's going to change. But overall, though, around the green, pretty easy conditions. We'll talk about that a little bit. And putting, this is usually one of the easiest places to putt on. Bottom 5. Yeah, bottom 5 for difficulty putting the last 3 years. That's probably why John Rahm calls this a piece of shit putting contest. 42nd and 43rd last year, 44th and 45th as far as the ability to gain strokes putting over the average PGA Tour golf course. 37 out of 38 in 2022. If it's windy conditions, obviously that increases how difficult it is to putt. We saw that a little bit with Wiley. When it's dome conditions, though, and there's not a ton of undulation or really complex undulations, some of these greens, these guys just bombs away. So, let's talk about off the tee, though. So, this historically was one of the least penal places to miss a fairway. Has a lot to do with the rough, only 2-inch ryegrass rough. That is nothing. Also, the fact that they removed a lot of trees last couple of years. That definitely reduces any real obstruction to a lot of these greens here. Also, too, is just with some of how these fairway, how a lot of these fairways are flanked by those mogul mounds, Capper, like when they're hitting into some of this. And you notice a lot of times that like a guy's a little bit offline. Well, the ball will actually kind of funnel back into the fairway.
Yeah.
Or into like the intermediate rough. So they're just, it's very difficult to find yourself unless you hit a water. or one of the fairway bunkers, it's really difficult to find yourself in a really precarious spot off the tee at this place. You know,
Right.
it's not completely bombs away because there are some holes where it is a forced layup off the tee, you know, based on where some of the fairway bottlenecks. But for the most part, though, you know, a lot of these holes, it's you can pretty much hit it almost anywhere, especially because the dormant Bermuda off the fairway that is, you know, you're not going to get a lot of bad lies like you saw this week at
No,
Wembley.
Dormant Beer is fine.
Yeah,
Like that's
exactly.
easy to hit off.
Right. Or you have the overseeded ryegrass rough, which 2 inches was nothing. So it's just there really is just not a whole lot of penalty for missing a fairway here unless you hit it in the water. You know, some of these penalty percentages for if you do miss a fairway, if you incur a penalty shot, it can be pretty high, but just avoid that, you know, and you're fine. One of the things I noticed as well, the driving distances have gone up a lot over the last five tournaments. Now, part of it is because I think in 2020, 2021 it was a little colder, but you know, it still is outpacing the distances every single year. Usually driving has gone up about a yard per year. And I think it's because guys are being a little more aggressive at this place. I think they realize that, you know, just with the analytics, it's a better incentive, just hit it farther. Guys are a little more aggressive with the driver at this place. Last couple tournaments, you'll notice that there's some pretty big bombers who finished in the top 10 at this place. And I think just it's starting to skew a little more in that direction here.
You
I
feel like
know
this
it's
is like every golf course as a whole at this point.
yeah, probably. I mean, there's I think Waialae still is one of those golf courses where it is a little bit of a mixed bag as far as off the tee.
Yeah.
But like you'll see some of the comp courses that like guys who usually do well at this place and like those tournament and like you know, other golf courses, it's ones where distance is starting to really like become an advantage and starting to overrun a lot of these places. But high level, you know, there still are courses or holes. There's still plenty of holes here where you can't just hit driver because of where it bottlenecks up. It's still beneficial to lay back, but there just isn't a whole lot of penalty for missing a fairway at this place.
No.
Approach play, from under 150, the wedge shots are some of the easiest in the PGA Tour. Usually about dead last or near dead last as far as difficulty. It's over 150, especially when it gets windier conditions and colder. That's where it can be difficult. Like in 2020, 2021, the weather wasn't great those years. One of the top 5 most difficult places to hit approach shots from under or from over 150. You think about 17. You think about some of these longer par 3s that have some water next to it. You know, that can be up to difficulty, especially in gustier conditions. Last couple years in dome conditions, though, a lot easier. About a little easier in average. And that's, you know, you see this green regulation rate spike the last 2 years of stadium course over 72%. Right. And also going back to like, you wonder why this has become so easy. You see 72% green regulation rate. Also, you see higher driving distances and the driving accuracy rates still 63% last year. Like that's how you get like 30 under. Like fairly high driving accuracy rates with increasing driving distances and high green regulation rates on greens are very easy to putt. That's how you get there. Now, with the new greens, I would probably say this green and regulation rate, even in calm conditions that we're going to see this week, probably going to tick down a little bit. But the greens are still pretty big there. And we'll get to in a little bit. You know, the around the green conditions still aren't all that challenging, especially from the fairway and some of the dormant Bermuda rough. So I would expect the green and regulation rate to probably dip back down towards like, you know, under 70%. But you still got to keep in mind these guys are really good. I think probably it's going to be more longer putts. It's going to be harder to get the ball closer to the hole. But I don't expect a ton of huge changes. I still think this thing is going to be like in the 20s winning for your winning score with that. But keep that in mind too. I think that is going to put a little bit more of an emphasis on probably some, maybe going back to a little more difficult approach shots from over 150. The wedge shots, though, I still think, because these guys are just so good. They spin the ball so easily. I don't think it's going to be as difficult. So, but I do think probably maybe emphasizing iron play a little bit more this week because you do have to still go low is going to be still key, especially at the stadium course. As far as proximity buckets of the stadium course, high volume of shots the last 3 years from under 125 yards, higher than the PGA Tour average. About a quarter of your shots are going to come from under 125. We talked about last week where I liked the proximity bucket because it's very uniform, where there weren't a lot of shots under 125, a huge volume of shots between like 125 and 200, and then like nothing over 200. Now this is all spread out. So a lot of shots from under 125, not a lot of shots between 120 and 150, a high volume of shots other than 2023. It might have been weather related, but a high volume of shots between 150 and 175. Kind of a dead zone between 175 and 225, and then a high volume from 225. Now, this high volume from 225 is basically your par fives. Okay. So, and they're all reachable.
Isn't that crazy? Like every time we're watching Shot Tracker, it's like all these guys have like 225 and in on a lot of these easy par fives. And it's just a professional golf.
You saw guys have like I saw Henrik Norlander today. Now it's downwind, but I saw Henrik Norlander have 180 into a par five.
So crazy.
Or even like a Kapalua last week, which they're going to turn into a par 4 next year. But number 5 there, like if you just hug the canyon there, you got 180 into a par 5. I mean, par is just a number at the end of the day, but it's just like, come on, guys. Like, let's make it kind of challenging to make a birdie this place. But it's very spread out, some of the proximity buckets. Now, what I am doing this year, because, listen, we're on a new company and, I got to work a little harder for all these sharp guys here, is I actually went through and estimated proximity buckets at the other 2 golf courses. And funny enough, excuse me, pretty identical proximity buckets on both courses. Still a pretty high volume of shots from under 100 yards. I mean, I just showed you a couple of holes at Nicklaus tournament that were under 100 yards or under 400 yards where there's really no incentive not to pull driver.
Yeah.
So that would be what those shots are. Kind of a dead zone between 100 and 150. A high volume of shots between 150 and 175, which is very similar to what it is a stadium course. And then a pretty high volume between 200 and 225, because I think a lot of those par 5s, especially La Quinta, are pretty short. And then only a few holes that are over 225. And then I create a composite based on 2 rounds at stadium, 1 round at Nicklaus, and 1 round at La Quinta. And here it is right here. So about a higher than average amount of shots from under 125 here. A lot less between 125 and 150 during the tournament. A lot higher volume between 150 and 175. A lot less from 175 to 200. A little bit higher than average from 200 and 225, because aren't a lot of shots at stadium course from that range. I think there's a lot of shots like that at La Quinta and Nicklaus. And then a little below PGA Tour average from 225 plus. But that's mostly your par 5s. So kind of spread out this week. I don't really love that when you're doing like your proximity data. But if you're looking to maybe weight it a certain way, I would weight like this week. You're seeing on your screen right here. Excuse me. Around the green. So from the fairway, usually we talk about, with some tight lies. We saw it this week, chipping off the Bermuda, kind of be difficult at Waialae. On the overseed, though, and even with the dormant Bermuda, it's really easy to get up and down from tight lies at the same course. One of the easiest the last 2 years at this place. Now, I think in 2022, I remember one of these years, the Bermuda was starting to come up a little bit, so that might explain why this year might have been a little more difficult. But otherwise, though, getting up and down from the fairway at the same course, really easy. Same thing with the rough. Some years a little harder than others. Maybe there's some Bermuda that might be in play a little bit that's starting to come up a little bit, but mostly from the rough, pretty easy to get up and down. Again, like 2-inch rough. If you're in the overseed, it's dormant Bermuda. It's not that challenging, especially in dome conditions. It's the bunkers, though, that apparently are where the difficulty is. It was the hardest to get up and down from a bunker at the same course last year. It has been top 5 every single year since 2020. Now, part of that, I think, is, with Pete Dye, and this playing Sawgrass and being familiar with the golf course, Capper.
Yeah.
Is that Pete Dye is a motherfucker.
He is evil.
Yes. And he is very good at putting hazards and bunkers and punishing you when you miss in the worst possible places. And normally that's by, setting up a pin position where if you're in a bunker, you're short-sided. You have absolutely no chance to get up and down. And you can see that in some of the holes at the same course. So I think that's part of the play. I think another part of it, though, is this monstrosity. You remember this, Capper?
Yep. The best.
Big bunker next to 60 on the left here.
The best.
I wonder how much this is actually in play for the data, by the way, as far as the degree of difficulty. Trying to get 18 feet, getting up and down on the par 5 here. So obviously pretty difficult feat to do. Tough to get it close to the pin. I wonder how much that is in play. I also wonder too, with the bunker renovation, if that's going to change a little bit as far as the difficulty. I don't really know how to quantify it, going from more concave bunkers to flat bottomed. But I'm still going to assume probably similar difficult conditions just overall. And you can actually find that on the rabbit hole in the model. You can actually use that as a part of your model, those conditions. So all right, and then putting. So one of the easiest golf courses to putt from under 5 feet. Last couple of years, one of the easiest putt from 5 to 15 feet and over 15 feet. I don't think the new greens are really going to affect it that much because they mostly kept the same contours as the previous years. They're probably going to run at the same speeds or just run a little firmer. Or they're just a little firmer, so it's going to be a little more difficult to get the ball a little closer to the hole. What's that?
Read the break too, right? I mean, it's hard. When I think about like putting on cold surfaces, like it's a little different than when it's a little soft.
Well, so there's a difference between firmness and speed. So firmness is just the ball's ability to like stick to the surface. Speed is just how high.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, I understand that. But what I'm saying is like if you're putting on a green that's a little softer, I feel like it's going to break different. I don't know. That could just be.
That's probably true.
Making it up in my brain, but
okay. So I don't think because they didn't change the contours of the green that much. I don't think it's really going to affect the putting stats. I think it's only going to affect lower green regulation rate, and it's going to affect your ability to get the ball as close to the hole as what you used to here. So, but overall, though, I mean, just the last couple of years, especially in dumb conditions, when the absence of wind, like we're going to see this week, it's very easy to putt on this place, and that is why we see some high scores. We're going to skip through because we're almost at an hour here.
Yep.
I'll share these in the Discord, like some of the comp courses as well. Here's the last couple AMEX leaderboards. So last year we had Nick Dunlap win at 29 under. This was the year that I had Sam Burns coming off the Keegan heartbreak. And this was also a period too where seemed like when my daughter was taking a bath, it would be around crunch time. Of the back 9, and I would be sweating outright.
Yes.
And, just being a good dad, I would say, okay, I'll give my kid a bath. And I think this is where you texted me, my dad texted me, a couple friends texted me as soon as Sam Burns hit it in the water. And I just saw my phone blow up. I'm like, oh, well, something horrible just happened. That's great. Second week in a row. Nick Dunlap, the amateur, wins. Technically, though, for the records, from money standpoint, Christian Bezaden, who won first place prize money.
That's right.
You know that? He did.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So, congrats, Christian Bezaden, who PGA Tour money winner at this event. A lot of bombers, though. You had Dunlap, you had JT, Xander, Kevin Yu, Sam Burns, Keith Mitchell. A lot of guys who hit it pretty far, at least did pretty well at this tournament here. 2023, this is where Davis Thompson went into a prolonged slump for almost winning this event, lost to John Rahm in a heartbreaker. This is where he clanged it off the pin on 17. If he just took the pin out, he might have actually canned the putt. But John Rahm went to 27 under. And you got Xander, who I think shot like a 61, I think, on the final day, made a run, towards the top of the leaderboard. You had Taylor Montgomery, who this was around when Taylor Montgomery started to be like 25 to 1 to win tournaments. It was ridiculous.
So stupid.
People were actually betting it. You had EVR do well this thing, Matthias Schmid, JT Poston. I mean, again, like just,
I like Schmid. You know, my favorite British guy. Remember?
he's not a British guy. He's
I know that was the joke. Remember, I was like, "Who's this Brit?" And you're like, "He's German, you asshole."
But yeah, he's German. So, and then 2020, and then 2022, the tournament that actually gave Hudson Swafford his live contract. Hudson Swafford wins in a absolute snoozer. I remember when, like, I think we struggled to recap this tournament. After, I mean, look at his leaderboard. It's Swafford, Tom Hoagie in second, Brian Harmon T3, Lanto Griffin T3, Lee Hodges T3. Yeah, the corpse of Francesco Molinari T6. Yeah, Will Zalatoris did pretty well. I think this is what fooled people thinking he was good in like Birdie Fest. He finished T6 here. Cantlay, this was another example like Cantlay where he probably should have won like 3 of these things and just can't. Because on Sunday, he just, other than that 2021 tournament that he gave us a big scare, just goes and kind of flatlines at this place. But yeah, just not a very good leaderboard here. The problem with, like, we could digest these strokes gain stats, but it's only stadium course. It doesn't factor in Nicklaus or tournament. So, I mean, you can look at it on the screen. There's not really a whole lot of point in really diving into it because it's incomplete data. That's one of the challenges of this place. Like, you look at this, like, oh. And actually, last year in 2024, I'll go back to it. The PGA Tour they had a glitch in round 1. And instead of fixing the ShotLink data, just said, you know what? We're not going to fix it. And we're just going to leave incomplete data. So some of this data right here, it might only just be like final round data. It's not even like the other two. So it's like, what do you do with this thing? So, but I think we broke it down pretty good as far as what you really want to look for this place. I think driving, as far as I think guys who are a little longer are starting to have a little bit of an edge here because I think you'd be a little aggressive with this place. I think iron play is gonna be a lot more important this week than most Amexes because they read the greens. Even though there's gonna be, I think, a higher green and regulation miss percentage with how easy some of the conditions around the green are, I'm just not going to weight it all that much. And you kind of see it in the model I have up here. I'll talk about it a little bit. And I'm still going to weight putting a lot. I still think you got to get to probably at least 25 under to win this thing. You got to make a lot of birdies, especially because we don't have data on Nicklaus and La Quinta. It is absolutely vital to can a lot of birdies and hit your irons really good and have your scoring clubs. And that's probably just what we'll be weighing a whole lot this week. So I have my model up here, going with what I did last week, 40% on recent form, just last 50 rounds, 20% on course history, comp courses, par 5 birdie or better percentages, because it's so vital. There's 4 per golf course. You have to birdie all those. I don't really care how you do it. I just want you to either get up and down and birdie or make an eagle, or I don't care how you do it. Just as long as you're good at making par 5s, especially on reachable par 5s. That's fine with me. Off the tee, I'm throwing in driving distance a little bit into the model. I think there is an edge on guys who hit a little longer at this place, especially with stadium course, and especially at like Nicklaus tournament where you get, well, I think it's probably more important at stadium course because of the 2 courses there. I think it's providing a little more of an advantage the last couple of years, but still really easy conditions. Low miss fairway penalty, that's in the model this week. Low rough penalty, that's in the model too. That's my off the tee stuff. Approach play, it's about 15% of or custom approach play, it's about 30% of the model. Easy approach play conditions. Last 3 years, I still think it's going to be relatively easy conditions, even though it's going to be a little harder to hit some of these greens. I want guys who are pretty good for their short irons. I weigh those basically in proportion to what the proximity buckets are. Not weighing around the greens much at all this week, just because it's really easy conditions, even though I think the green regulation is going to be a little lower. And then putting. I want guys who are going to putt in really good easy conditions that gain from under 15 feet, over 15 feet, go to the overseed. I mean, it's not all that complicated of a model this week. I still think it's going to be played pretty easy, even though you have the newer greens. So, top 20 this week.
Ooh, Sanjay.
So, this is a pretty chalky top 20.
Oh, shit.
So, obviously Xander first, Sungjae second, Tony Finau third, Patrick Cantlay fourth, Sam Burns fifth, Tom Kim sixth. No surprise.
Probably anybody's top 20 is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, probably six of this, maybe seven of the first or six of the first 8 guys on the odds board. Ben Griffin, who is just kryptonite, always looks good in the model, sucked again this week.
He looked good on Thursday.
He looked great on Thursday, and he was terrible over the weekend again. Brian Harmon just staring me in the face after I just completely motherfucked him on the show. Am I going to go back to him? I don't know. He's 8th. Eric Cole, 9th. JT Poston, 10th. 11, JT. I think the putter kind of knocks him. He's really good with the short irons, but the putter knocks him. 12th, Davis Thompson. 13th, Daniel Berger. Again, why is he this high? Why is he doing this to me? 14, Christian Bazane, who another guy I love to lose money on.
Fucking loser.
15, 15, JJ Spawn. 16, Johnny Vegas.
Come on.
I'm struggling why he's this high.
Yeah, I don't understand it either.
Yeah. 17, Siwoo Kim. 18, Max Grazerman, who I think is going to pique my interest a little bit this week. 19, Tom Hoagie. 20, Billy Horschel. Kind of chalky, though. So, add another slide. Here's 21 through 40. Let's get into some real losers. Okay. 21, Doug Gim.
Real loser.
He is a loser. We did see him almost win a birdie fest at Shriners the last fall. So we'll see about him. 22, Kurt Kitayama. I don't know if I can go back to him again, but he played well here a couple of years ago. 23, Keith Mitchell. 24, Sepp Straka. 25, my boy, Bo Hostler, a guy I love to lose money on. 26, Jason Day. 27, Patrick Rogers. 20, Andrew Novak. 29, Wyndham Clark. I was surprised he was this low.
Why are you surprised he's that low? He's great off the tee and he putts. His irons are shaky at best.
I guess that's true. So I just would have thought, he makes a lot of birdies. I thought he would be a little higher. I mean, a lot higher.
Those fucking irons, man. I think about him pulling them left, fucking yanking them left, fucking. Yeah.
That's true. I think also I also might have to tweak this model a little bit. I think course history might be a little too high in this. So maybe I'll tweak it a little bit and he might look better if I do that. I don't think his course history is all that great here. I'd have to go back and check. 30, Matt Kuchar. 31, Matthias Schmidt. 32, Harry Hall, who is just the best golfer on earth right now. 33, we're going to make Cam very happy. Carson Young is 33.
Yeah, let's talk up another mustache golfer who fucking sucks balls. Great.
Listen, he is the highest C Young in this field. Cameron Young is 50th in this model.
Because he's
Carson Young is 33rd.
Carson Young actually has a ceiling. Fucking Cam Young's already hit it, and everybody just wants him to be better than he actually is because he stinks.
Okay. All right, 34, Rico Hoy, who might have my attention this week. He's been popping. He popped in the fall. He did not have a good Sunday today, but he was okay at
loser.
He's probably a loser, but this would be a loser tournament for him to win. So that might be somebody in my pique my interest.
But he also lost to Harry Hall in a loser tournament in the fall. It was him, Harry Hall, and another bum. And I just remember Huey fucking airmailing the fucking green in a playoff, by 25 yards.
Yeah, it wasn't great. 35, EVR. 36, Rio Hisatuni. 37, Cage Lee. This is not a TPC, but Cage Lee doesn't care. He's very high in this model. 38, Andrew Putnam. 39, Mark Hubbard, loser. And 40, Denny McCarthy. So I figured out. Yeah, so I figured I would put this in here because, look, it's not going to go all chalk. This is a putting contest. So I wanted to put the guys 20 to 40 here because some of these guys are going to play.
That motherfucker can't make a putt to save his life. You want to talk about a par machine? Andrew Putnam, not a fucking birdie fest. I'd rather light my face on fire than fucking bet on him in a birdie fest again.
Did you lose money on him last week?
Based on what I just said, what do you think, Steve?
Probably yes.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Yes, exactly. So if you want to create your own model, by the way, go to BetSperts Golf. Use promo code Inside Golf for 25% off your annual subscription. I'm happy I did. I love using this model. I love tweaking with it, doing it 15,000 times, and finally get one that I like. So go ahead and do that. And that's the end of the AMEX preview.
Love
So,
it.
all right, get back to this. So I have nothing else. Do you have anything else?
No. Once again, just go to Andy's page. If you guys can donate, do it seriously. A lot of people in need out there. And then obviously subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go be an insider, man. There's so much good shit happening inside the Discord. It's pretty wild. And you get access to all these sharp guys who are doing DFS. And yeah, other than that, we'll be back on Tuesday. This is no first round leaders. I'm going to stay away from 3 balls. We're going to see if we can make it a profitable week without me being a complete degenerate.
We'll see how long you last with that resolution here. I bet you're going to break it. I'm going to wake up on Thursday morning with you asking at 1 a.m. about 3 ball opinions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably right.
Yeah. We never, by the way, we never got back to it. Let's end the golf talk. You have 2 minutes to talk about Mike Vrabel being the new coach of the team.
Listen, I love Mike Vrabel, right? Great Patriot Hall of Fame, breaks balls, seems like a great guy. I know it's another middle linebacker from Belichick, but Vrabel was not in the Belichick coaching tree. He's not. He went somewhere else, learned a whole bunch of shit, did stuff. I don't know. I'm more concerned about Elliott Wolf still having a job. The fact that Elliott Wolf still has a job is insane to me. He must have the Zapruder film of Bob Kraft at the Lotus Spa or whatever the hell it was called, where he was getting a hand job, because there is no reason Elliott Wolf should have a job. He's had his fingers on the draft since Mac Jones. All our drafts have sucked since Mac Jones. We're giving him credit for Drake May. He picked the 3rd quarterback that was left when we needed a quarterback. Then we took fucking Javon Baker, fucking Jalen Polk, and all these other bums. Like, he needs fired. He needs fired first. Like, that's all I care about. Vrabel, hopefully comes in, establishes a culture. It can't be any worse than fucking last year. Knock on wood if you couldn't hear it. Listen, I'm happy it's not Mayo. Wolf needs fired. Happy with Vrabel.
Are we even sure Drake May's good?
Listen here, Pittsburgh Steelers. No one cares about your opinion because you think your team's good every year. And you know what happens every year? You make the playoffs and get your dick kicked in, and no one gives a fuck because you're irrelevant.
I agree, but I would rather make the playoffs every year and at least get this week.
That is the dumbest shit ever. Now you're just in purgatory.
No.
You're a middling franchise that was good in the 70s before black people played and you guys did steroids. And that's where you guys made all. That's where you made all your fucking. That's what happened. Oh yeah, fucking. It was super great. There was 6 black guys in the league.
Not true.
Fucking, that's when the Steelers won all their Super Bowls because you guys were
all
hopped up on steroids at the steel mills and doing all that shit. Like, fucking forget about it. Like, you guys stink. You guys had a rapist as a quarterback for the last fucking 20 years. And Mike Tomlin, the leader of men, just completely.
No, I want.
Oh, congratulations! It wasn't 8-8 this year. It was 10-7. Still with first round of the playoffs. Still got your dick kicked in. Still left. When was the last time you won a playoff game? 10 years. You're telling me you'd rather have an existence
you
when you don't win a playoff game for 10 years?
We now know for a fact that your entire franchise was Tom Brady. So
okay, and I'm fine with that. You know what? You know what's great? The last 22 years I had Tom Brady because we ate everybody, including you.
We had the same amount of Super Bowl wins. Like, what does that even mean? We haven't had a losing season in the last 16 years.
Who cares?
And you won 3. You've won 7 combined games the last 2 years.
I don't care. 20. I'd rather that than fucking middling every year. At least I got hope.
No.
At least I have hope. Listen, congratulations once again on being a middling franchise and having another long tenured coach. And you guys,
I'm done with Mike T. I'm done. Yeah, I'm done with him. I agree with you.
Guess who isn't? The Roonies aren't. They're gonna have him for another 10 years. Congratulations for another 10 years of not doing shit.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Might as well be in Texas. You live down there now. Be like Dan Katz. Change your team based on where you live, and just ignore the 20 years.
I lived in Houston for 18 years. I live in Dallas now, dude.
All right. Well, just like Capper saying that he's going to lay off the 3 balls, I will believe when I see it when Cam Kerr is done with Mike Tomlin. I bet when we do
I'm done.
next
I've had
summer,
enough, dude.
you will be all back in with Mike Tomlin. Never has a losing record. All back in with the propaganda.
Listen, I for the last 4 years, I've put the largest bet of anything I ever place on the entire any sport, golf and football, on the Steelers over 8.5 wins. And next week I'm going to Vegas to cash it, baby.
There you go.
There you go.
Yep.
All right. Let's wrap the show up.
Dave Chappelle meme where you're soaking up your tears with your money. There you go. You're perfect.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap the show up.
All right. We'll be back on Tuesday, like I said. If you guys stuck around to the end. Once again, go donate to anything that you can find for the people out in California that need the help. Andy's got the Red Cross link in his bio. Anything other than that, that's it. We'll be back on Tuesday to hopefully give you guys some fucking winners. Let's go.